When I was confronted with an unkillable Taric in front of me, I asked myself the question, what can I do about this? Let's say you want to play a melee carry like Garen, Darius or Kled, and for some reason you don't want to resort to Zephyr spamming to bypass the enemy tanks. How do you get your carry into the enemy backline? One of my first instincts was to check out Zett. No, not that guy, the Juggernaut one. Yes, that one. I was pretty familiar already with this unit thanks to Talia comps, and I was always interested in taking a closer look at his ability. What makes him pull 1 or 2 units, where do the enemy units land, and what happens if you increase his attack range? The first test was very simple. What happens if you give Sett 3 rapid fire cannons? Thanks to the Twisted Fate legend, this didn't take very long, so let's check out some of the fights. In our first fight, Sett will start on the back row while the opponent is cornered in. He pulls the enemy Renekton right in front of him. This gives us the confirmation that increasing his range will in fact increase his pull. However, it is not always smooth sailing for the enemy frontliner. In the following clips, you can see what happens if your Sett in the back row is positioned in a straight line towards his target. The target will get yeeted into the corner of the map and then slowly fly towards a hex in front of Sett. The stun duration happens while the unit is flying, so this doesn't really increase the CC duration by a meaningful amount, but visually it is quite satisfying. Things can get even more weird because the second part of his pull is capable of the same interaction. If we watch this fight, we can see that initially Vi gets pulled to the side. Shortly after, Sett is ready for a second cast, and the enemy Jace, who is the secondary target for his cast, also gets yeeted into the corner. When I first saw this interaction, my first thought was to combine this pull with Cassante. After all, the enemy units are getting pushed to the edge of the arena. Maybe all it takes is one well-timed Cassante ult and I could get rid of the enemy tank right at the start. While the timing for this can be quite rough, it does in fact work. This Cho'Gath is out of here. Unfortunately, this is quite inconsistent. The timing needs to be just right, since the unit is trying to get into the third row in front of Sett, so it is possible for Cassante to not get the knockout right from the start. At this point, we kind of have to address the elephant-sized duck in the room. When can you realistically afford to build 3 rapid-fire cannons on a Sett? What you just saw might be possible with scoped weapons, but for now, let's focus on making the setup more attainable. The setup we want to reach is to make Sett pull units into a position that is favorable to us by using as little resources as possible. Let's do some tests involving only a single rapid-fire cannon. Here we have an enemy Taric 3-star right in front of us. Even though Garen starts on the side, he walks towards Taric and would be stuck on him for the entire fight. Sett is in a diagonal angle towards Taric, which allows him to pull Taric to the side of him. This now allows Garen to focus on other targets to clean up the board and even win this fight against a very powerful Invoker comp. This diagonal pull can be quite powerful. With the right positioning, the enemy frontline can end up next to Sett, but also on the opposite side of your main carry. This will make your carry focus on new targets or even walk straight into the enemy backline. However, all of this only works from an angle. If there is a unit right in front of Sett, he will attempt a straight pull. If the hexagons in front of Sett are blocked from your own units, the unit will simply fly back to the original position, making the entire effort effectively worthless. Outside of pulling the enemy tank into your second row, we can also try to adjust our Cassante setup by positioning both of them on the side. All we need is for Sett to pull a unit into the most right hex next to Cassante, and you can secure yourself an early kill if the opponent left his frontliners unprotected. Interestingly enough, it looks like the best possible setup is not even with rapid fire cannon, but simply giving him a single blue buff. This will make him cast at the start of the fight, even if you put him in the second row. The best part of the setup is that he also appears to be incapable of using his ability in a straight line. This means you will always get a diagonal cast and pull the enemy frontline into the second row. This Sett Tech is still in the early stages and not fully developed, but I thought it was an interesting trick to showcase to give you something to play around with. Maybe someone ends up finding the perfect use for it, or maybe it will remain an obscure trick on YouTube. I hope you learned something and see you next time.